All right, hi everybody, and welcome to our presentation of the Search for Solutions project. Our topic was telepresence and telecommuting. My name is Dylan Uecker.
My name's Eric Coe.
And I'm Thomas Maloney.
So, what is telecommuting? It's commuting via technology. So, instead of commuting via public transportation or car or any other form of commuting using regular methods, you commute via technology, and that's using technology like telephones or a video meeting platform like Zoom, like we're recording this video using Zoom. The difference between telecommuting and telepresence is telecommuting is when every worker is in a remote location, so there's no one in an actual like office building. Telepresence is when you're in a remote location and you use some form of a robot, maybe with like an iPad on the face of it to like have your presence there virtually, but you're not actually in the building. And the way this works, like the science behind it, is you just use some form of a video input and an audio input, and then you output that across different platforms.
So there's a lot of benefits that comes with telecommuting and telepresence. To start, speaking is only one form of human communication. And in a traditional workplace environment, people communicate with each other through a combination of many other forms, like body language or facial expression. When you remotely join a meeting by phone or communicate with your coworkers through emails, it's hard to fully capture a message that you want to communicate. Telepresence allows more of a visual collaboration so you can communicate more effectively. This also keeps engagement levels at an all-time high. Also, many times, in order to collaborate with people working in different industries or places, it takes time, money, and resources in order to make this collaboration happen. This travel is often exhausting, not only on the people, but also on the organizations and on their budgets. This can all be avoided through telecommunication, and being able to utilize this powerful tool can reduce time and expenses that come with traveling for meetings. Some companies face rising facilities costs that put them at a financial disadvantage to powerful companies that may already have control over their industry. Costs of insurance, utilities, furniture, security, and supplies are examples of such costs that prevent startups to enter in any sort of competition with huge companies. As a result of saving monies on these areas, companies can also offer higher pay to employees as an effect of telecommuting. Considering the climate, the biggest impact telecommuting has is the impact it has on the environment. To start, transportation is the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States. In 2017, 29% of greenhouse gas emissions came from transportation. Telecommuting would heavily decrease this number, as there would be no need to communicate by transportation. Remote workers not only save excess commuting, but they also save on car maintenance, coffee cups, excess printer paper, and cost of running security system and lights on 24 hours, 7 days a week. In fact, in 2015, Xerox reported teleworkers drove 92 million fewer miles, saving 4.6 million gallons of gas and reducing carbon dioxide emissions by nearly 41,000 metric tons. This saved the company over $10 million.
So if we look at this graph here, this demonstrates the total change in miles driven from February 2nd to the middle of May. This demonstrates is the decrease in traffic from COVID. So we all know March 8th, and we were in colloquium, I think, at that point, and then we all got sent home. And we can see there was a big 58-point decrease there. So that means the number of miles driven was severely decreased. So there was much less cars on the road. So the cars themselves were emitting much less carbon dioxide and other pollutants. And this is not a direct effect of telecommuting, but this shows why telecommuting is such a good solution because it allowed for workers to be able to commute into work without having to drive there. So this shows telecommuting has a huge effect for carbon emissions because when you're commuting to work, you don't need the unnecessary gas mileage that you would otherwise normally have to use. There are some cons, though, of telecommuting. So an example, need for in-person interaction. So say you're working for an engineering company and you have to work on a physical design of something. And usually what that entails is a group of different workers and they're all hands-on on specific project. If everybody's telecommuting, they're not going to be able to be in person and interacting physically. So that's kind of a roadblock there where when you're not in person, it can make certain tasks or certain jobs much more difficult. Another con is difficult supervision. So we see in this picture here, there's an example of a worker who's listening to music, they're eating pizza and playing on their phone. So when you're telecommuting, it can be really difficult for supervisors and managers to really effectively determine if you're being productive because they're not aware of your total environment. Another issue, technical difficulties. If you lose power or you have spotty internet connection, it can really make your productivity very difficult and can really affect your other workers too. And finally, security issues. If you have an unsecure home network or you're using like public Wi-Fi, for instance, you're very susceptible to being hacked in a sense, where if you're working on like classified information at your job, you may not be allowed to work on it at home because you don't have the proper security.
So how does telecommuting and telepresence affect the future of work? So during the pandemic, the vast majority of people have been using telecommuting, and it's projected that once the effects of COVID-19 are over, there will continue to be a good mix of traditional commuting and continued telecommuting with higher levels of telepresence, as showed in this picture to the right of a telepresence robot. And what does this mean for employees? Well, it gives them much more power and freedom, and it gives them complete control over their workspace, which can affect their efficiency a lot for better or worse, as Dylan just mentioned with the problem of supervision. So future technology, how can we make telepresence and telecommuting better? Well, as AR, augmented reality, and virtual reality, the technologies advance, meetings like those that we see in movies and sci-fi movies like Star Wars and Kingsman become closer and closer to reality. And that can mean a lot more personal interaction than you would get just looking at a screen, like on Zoom. So in short, telepresence and telecommuting is commuting virtually using technology such as video conferences. Some benefits include reduced costs of resources in office spaces for companies, and it really positively impacts the environment by getting cars off the roads and greatly reducing emissions. And we just need to keep improving the technology to make it better. And here are references.